All right, so picture this. You're scrolling through your feed, maybe grabbing your coffee, and suddenly, bam, Llama 3 is everywhere. I swear, it was like the internet went from zero to obsessed overnight. It definitely grabbed my attention.
It's definitely been the talk of the town, and for good reason. This isn't just another incremental step in AI. This feels different.
That's exactly why I had to call you. I knew you were already elbows deep in Meta's research paper, all 92 pages of it. We're talking serious brain power here.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the beauty of this deep dive, right? We get to break down that mountain of research into something you can digest with your morning coffee.
Music to my ears. So let's cut to the chase. What exactly is Llama 3? I keep seeing a herd of models thrown around, and frankly, it sounds a bit overwhelming.
It's a fair point. It's not your typical AI launch where it's just one thing. Herd of models means Meta created a whole lineup, each specializing in something different. We're talking languages, coding, you name it. And get this, they're even teaching it to use tools.
Hold on, tools, like actual tools. Are we talking about an AI that can build a birdhouse?
Yeah, not quite think digital tools for now, but still, this is huge. It means Llama 3 could potentially interact with software, write its own code, analyze data. The possibilities are mind-blowing.
Wow, that's next level stuff. And just to wrap my head around the scale here, the paper mentions a whopping 405 billion parameters. Now, in English, please, what does that even mean?
Think of it this way. Parameters are like the connections in a brain. More connections, more potential for complexity and intelligence. So 405 billion, that's massive.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not just about size, right? You could have a giant brain, but if it's not wired right, it's not going to do much.
You're hitting the nail on the head. Llama 3 also has this incredible context window of up to 128,000 tokens. Imagine reading an entire novella and remembering every single detail. That's essentially what this allows Llama 3 to do.
Wow, talk about a brain upgrade.
Sure.
That kind of context must be key to making those deeper connections, seeing patterns other AIs might miss. But all this begs the question, why go through all this effort? What was Meta's grand vision here?
They actually address that directly in the paper, and I love their honesty. They say they wanted to maximize our ability to scale the model development process. They weren't just building an AI, they were building a system to build AIs better and faster.
So instead of a one-time project, it's more like they're creating this AI powerhouse that's constantly evolving, constantly learning.
Exactly. And speaking of learning, the data they used is fascinating. One detail that jumped out at me was how they focus on finding examples of mathematical and logical reasoning, even in everyday web pages. They basically taught it to find hidden logic in the digital haystack.
That's wild. Most people would assume you need to feed an AI super clean, specialized data to get those kinds of results. It's like they're proving you can find brilliance in the most unexpected places.
It completely changes how you think about AI training. It's not just about the quantity of data, it's about the quality and the strategy. Like, you could read a million blog posts, or you could study a handful of expertly written textbooks.
Okay, that analogy really drives it home. And speaking of studying, the paper mentions this thing called annealing, which honestly sounds more like something you'd do to metal than an AI. Can you shed some light on that?
It is a great question, and it shows how Meta's team really thought about the learning process. Annealing is like a cool-down phase for the AI. Imagine cramming for an exam afterwards. You don't just slam the book shut, right?
Right.
You take a beat, maybe review your notes, let the most important stuff sink in. That's essentially what they did with Llama 3, giving it time to solidify those complex skills.
So it's less about cramming information and more about making sure it really sticks. That's actually a pretty relatable learning strategy, even for us humans.
Absolutely. It highlights that even with all the processing power in the world, there's still an art to training AI effectively. It's not just brute force, it's about strategy and finesse.
Makes sense. But let's talk about something that sounds even more human, this whole idea of giving Llama 3 senses. The paper mentions integrating images, videos, even audio. Is that even possible?
It's one of the most exciting frontiers in AI right now, this push beyond just text. Imagine being able to ask Llama 3 to analyze a graph from your presentation or describe a video to someone who can't see it. That's the potential we're talking about.
That's incredible, but how does it even begin to process something as complex as an image? I mean, we take it for granted, but there's so much going on visually.
Right, and that's where things like bounding boxes come in. It's basically teaching the AI to identify objects within an image. So instead of seeing a jumble of pixels, it starts to understand, okay, that's a dog, that's a tree, and so on.
So it's like giving the AI building blocks to understand the visual world, kind of like how we learn as kids.
Exactly. And it goes even further. Remember, OCR, optical character recognition.
Uh-huh.
It means Llama 3 can actually read text within images, not just see it as a random shape. Suddenly, memes, infographics, even scanned documents become understandable to the AI.
Okay, that is seriously cool. But all this power, all this potential, it has to come with some serious questions about safety, right? I mean, we're talking about an AI that can basically see and hear the world around it.
You're hitting on a crucial point. The paper actually talks about this dilemma, the balance between building a helpful AI and a safe AI. It's not enough for Llama 3 to just be smart. It needs to understand ethical boundaries, too.
It's like the old saying, with great power. But seriously, how do you even begin to teach an AI about ethics? It's not like you can just hand it a rule book.
It's one of the toughest challenges in AI development, and there's no easy answer. But one fascinating approach Meta took was using red teams.
Red teams, like a digital version of those guys who break into banks in movies to test their security?
Exactly. They had teams of security researchers essentially trying to break Llama 3 to find loopholes in its safety protocols to get it to do things it shouldn't. It's like stress testing a bridge. You push it to the limits in a controlled environment to make sure it can handle anything the real world throws at it.
I guess even AI needs a good stress test every now and then. But speaking of pushing limits, here's what I don't get. Meta went through all this trouble to build this incredibly advanced, powerful AI, and then they just decided to make it open source. Isn't that kind of like baking the world's most amazing cake and then just leaving it on your doorstep with a note that says, help yourself?
You're right, it is a bold move. Most companies would lock something like this down tighter than Fort Knox. But Meta is taking a different approach, and it could be a game changer.
So instead of a vault, they're choosing an open playground. I have to admit, that's a refreshing change of pace. But why do it? What's the upside for Meta?
It's all about accelerating innovation. By making Llama 3 open source, they're essentially saying, here's a blueprint, let's see what you can build with it. It's like crowdsourcing the future of AI on a massive scale.
So instead of a handful of engineers in Silicon Valley, you've got brilliant minds from all over the world tinkering, innovating, finding new applications. That's got to be exciting for Meta to watch unfold. But what does it actually mean for someone like me, someone who's not an AI expert but is definitely paying attention to this stuff?
It means we could see the benefits of Llama 3 in our lives sooner rather than later. Imagine faster medical diagnoses, more personalized education, even breakthroughs in accessibility, all because more people have access to this powerful tool.
Okay, now that's what gets me really fired up. It's one thing to talk about the technical wizardry of AI, but it's another thing altogether to see it making a real difference in the world.
Yeah.
It feels like Llama 3 could be a turning point in how we think about AI development, moving from a closed, competitive landscape to something much more collaborative and open.
It definitely has that feel, doesn't it? And that spirit of collaboration, that shared sense of purpose. I think that's what really sets Llama 3 apart. It's not just about building smarter AI. It's about building a better future with AI.
So with Llama 3 out in the wild, being poked, prodded, and perfected by minds across the globe, what are you most excited to see emerge? What's keeping you up at night, buzzing with possibilities?
Oh, that's the best part. The possibilities really do feel endless. We might see applications we haven't even dreamed of yet. Maybe Llama 3 helps us tackle climate change or bridge language barriers or even unlock new forms of creative expression. It's a journey full of unknowns, and that's incredibly exciting.
And on that note of boundless potential, I think we've done our part to unpack this Llama 3 phenomenon from its mind-boggling scale to Meta's surprising open-source approach. We've gone from a 92-page research paper to hopefully a conversation that sparked your curiosity and left you wanting to learn more.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be paying attention to the world of AI, and with Llama 3 entering the scene, things are only going to get more interesting from here.